Good day. Mike Rowe, the former host of Dirty Jobs and narrator of Deadliest Catch, recently came under criticism for allegedly supporting anti-intellectualism through his promotion of skilled trades jobs. The assumption to be that tradesmen are somehow less intellectual than college graduates, and consequently that such jobs are generally bad choices. That is a profoundly ridiculous assumption. In the last few years, I've met college grads who have only the vaguest notion of how the U.S. political system works or the role of the federal courts in that system. And if the knowledge of national politics was abysmal, the understanding of state and local politics was virtually non-existent. And this was in an environment in which they were involved in an area of public policy where politics and court decisions affected their work. And yet I was astounded at the cluelessness of these college-educated people about just basic information. In fact, there are plenty of skilled tradesmen and other non-collegians who can acquire this basic knowledge simply by paying attention to current events. A former professor of mine once said, whereas a lot of college grads are dopes, a lot of high school grads are pretty smart. I wholeheartedly agree with that assessment. Increasing numbers of college grads are finding that those 4 years of hard work simply aren't paying off. Many are finding themselves trapped in low-salaried jobs with a huge mountain of student debt. The fact is that many employers simply don't assign much value to liberal arts degrees, which are quite popular due to the lower math requirements. I've also known people with 4-year science degrees in the state of Alabama who struggle to find suitable work. In addition to low pay and high debt, many college grads find themselves burdened with the following issues. Office politics. This one is particularly nasty. Who is sucking up to whom? Who is in an inappropriate relationship with whom? The internal politics of organizations can be really nasty, and a lot of times the people who are best at office politics are the people who do the best on the job. That's a very unfortunate fact, but I've seen it many times. Multitasking, which degrades the quality of work. According to scientific research, multitasking is a lousy way to work. It definitely impedes quality of work output. I wholeheartedly agree with that. But a lot of white-collar jobs require this multitasking, and consequently the quality of work isn't that good. In spite of the fact that companies might disagree with that, a lot of times their customers and clients won't necessarily agree with the quality of work that they're getting, and they'll have a lot of complaints. So multitasking, that's a big issue with a lot of white-collar jobs. Open office plans, which interfere with the privacy necessary to perform good work. You have these cubicle arrangements and these open offices where everybody's in everybody's business, work-related, personal, and otherwise, and it's just hard to focus. And the tension level is just unbelievable sometimes because you don't have any privacy. You can't focus to do your good work. There's all this chatter going on. There's all this collateral, this, that, and the other. People walking up on you just any old time, no matter what you're in the middle of, and it does affect your work. Open office plans. To me, an office should be a room with a closed door, a door that closes and locks, so you can sit there and concentrate on your work. But so many companies seem to feel otherwise these days. Pretentiously formal dress codes, which are entirely unnecessary and even inappropriate in many environments. You know what our approach is to dress. If it isn't really necessary for you to perform your job well, then we don't make that big of a deal about it. I do, and we have other employees padding around barefoot here in the office because why not? I mean, we can in our office, so we do. It cuts stress, so why not? And we don't make big deals about having people wear ties and all that other stuff either, but a lot of companies do. And it creates this, it adds to the tension of these things that I've already mentioned. So pretentiously formal dress codes. Not a good thing. Brazen disrespect from superiors who feel threatened by quality employees. A lot of times a quality employee will go to work for a company and they'll be better at something than a superior will be, and so from then on the superior feels the need to degrade, to disrespect that person. I've certainly been there. And so brazen disrespect from superiors who do feel threatened by quality employees in their departments. That is a huge issue. Over-the-top corporate spying, like the old song says, private eyes are watching you, everything, they see everything you do. They are watching your computer traffic. There are video cameras everywhere. Sometimes they even listen to your telephone calls. Corporate spying is really over the top. If you work in a white-collar job for a lot of companies, you can be pretty sure that they are watching you in one way or the other and keeping up with everything you do. If you have a company cell phone, I recommend not using it. I recommend leaving it in the office if you possibly can. If you have to take it with you, I recommend taking the battery out. Employers also troll social media accounts. They want to know what you're saying on their social media, what you're doing, what your private life is about. So if you have superiors or coworkers who make friend requests, you better have them in a restricted category, because employers do use social media against people. That's just offensive to me. I see social media accounts as private property, but employers don't, and so they will use that to spy on you, and they will definitely use it against you. Ridiculous. Unending pressure to sell more products and services to clients. That turns into hard sale a lot of time. A lot of people can't stand hard sale. I can't. They're not suited for it, and yet you have this unending pressure. Salary jobs with the requirement to work unlimited hours for a flat rate of pay. I've known people making $25,000 a year as their salary, and yet they're required to work unlimited hours, and they feel they have to stay connected to work all the time. They're afraid to take their vacation time. When they're off, they think they have to be checking emails, text messages, and responding right away, and it just turns the job into a ball and chain, and yet their pay is stuck at this salary. That's a horrible situation. Now, these sorts of issues combine to completely wreck the appeal of working in many air-conditioned offices. Frustrated white-collar workers often find that they have seriously underestimated the stress-producing nature of these issues, and they get disillusioned and begin to look for a way out. Trades jobs can provide a dividing line between one's personal life and his work. You get done at the end of the day, you go home, you live your life. That is a much-desired separation that seems to have disappeared in many occupations, and it is a serious cause of stress for a lot of people, the fact that they can't disconnect from their work even on their own time. That's a really tough way to live. Now, on the other hand, skilled tradesmen can make a good living in jobs which mostly require practical job-related knowledge. They tend to spend their days single-tasking rather than multitasking. With physical work, it's one thing at a time, the way the human mind is actually designed to operate, according to scientific research. Trades jobs tend to be straightforward. The quality of work tends to be obvious rather than debatable. You know, it's not that subjective. You can tell if a carpenter does good work or a plumber does good work. It's obvious. It's not something that's debatable. It's not something that people can nail you on an evaluation if you did good work. Now, some might argue that these very necessary jobs don't allow people to make a difference in society. I completely disagree. That's just wrong. You know what one of the best ways to make a difference in society is? It's to make plenty of money and be generous with your resources. And I don't mean donating to churches or charities either. What working class person doesn't have various friends, relatives, neighbors, or acquaintances who are in need of financial or material assistance at any given time? It's very common in the United States. That's the place to focus generosity. That's where unmet needs are, because people who fall on hard times find that government assistance is very limited. A lot of people find they're not eligible at all, and so they struggle horribly, and they get in jobs that don't pay well, and the jobs don't help them get better jobs, and so people go through hard times for a long period of time. So help your friends, relatives, neighbors, and others who are in need. That's the best way you can make a difference in society. And one more thing. Making decent money in a poor state opens the door to save money and move to a more prosperous state for a better quality of life. That is often the best decision a working person can make. Sufficiently higher earnings can make up for a higher cost of living, because some states, and this is a fact of life, are much wealthier than others. So Mike Rowe is definitely onto something. For a better quality of life, trades jobs are in fact much better choices for many, maybe even most aspiring workers these days. After all, the good life is the goal of work. After all, don't you agree?